Welcome back to Internet guys, and welcome to the first live action movie review. Welcome once again. I think it's if it's not the first one, it's the first one in years. I don't think I ever have reviewed a live action movie. Now, what classifies it a live action? I guess I'll go in depth. It, in my point of view, when it comes to series like this, it has to have a manga or a light novel intended to be for the anime community. And the reason I say intended is because this first one actually, specifically called As the God's Will, doesn't have an anime. It's not something that was an anime and then became a live action. But if you watch the live action, it very much seems like it had an anime. It's very much anime-like, and so really, if it's inspired from a manga or a light novel, or if it had that anime inspiration, right? So that was considered a live action, because technically all movies are live action that are not animated, right? But I'm going to focus on these that have mangas and stuff like that. So this one in particular has two series actually. The first one is the one the movie is based off, As the God's Will, and as far as I know, haven't gone too much into depth because I don't want to know too much of the story in case there is a sequel, which I doubt it, but I might read the manga. It doesn't cover all 5 volumes of the manga. I think it covers maybe 4. I could be wrong. And then there's As the God's Will, the second series, which it's a spin-off, I guess. And that one had 21 volumes. It ran for not almost, it ran for 3 years. I don't know. 4 years. It ran for 4 years, 21 volumes, which is amazing. Whereas the first series only had 5 volumes, only ran for 1 year, or a year and a half. So this one aired back in 2014, and it is currently in Crunchyroll, both dubbed and subbed. Now, before anything, if you haven't done so by now, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Give some love by commenting, liking, and sharing. You guys can follow me on social media and other places in the description below. And guys, do subscribe. Especially if you're watching up to this point, you've liked something about the video, so might as well subscribe. Okay, so As the God's Will, I will say I started watching it dubbed, and then I had to quickly switch to sub. I think I watched quite a bit. I watched maybe 20 minutes dubbed, and then I decided that dubbed made it a little bit cheesier, so I changed it to subbed, and subbed did actually help. It did help watching it subbed, but like any live action, it just seems like it was, intended to be an anime. So we have this unique story, and it starts off right at the beginning of the first game, at least the movie does, and that is with a Daruma doll, which I think I'm probably going to put that as my thumbnail, but essentially it's a head that turns, and we eventually find out that the head came from the teacher, and the classroom is stuck. They're in this room, and essentially they have to press the button for them to finish the game. But if the head catches them, simple game of red light and green light, then they explode and they become into marvels, which is insane. The game itself is each game is tricky. I guess I'll say that it's a survival movie. Each game is tricky. The main character, ends up having to see a lot of his friends die and having to see a lot of his classmates, that maybe not just friends, die. And there is quite a bit of characters. There's one who is a psychopath, kind of disturbed boy, Amaya Takaru, I believe, is his name. And he is kind of like completely opposite of him, though he thinks that he is very much like the main character. And he basically is going through these games as well with our main character, but with a whole different mentality. Like, he really is enjoying seeing other people die. In fact, he at some points withholds information from the other characters so that he can just see some of them die, and he's like, oh yeah, I knew how the game worked all along, I just didn't say anything, and he just laughs it off. Our main character does have two love interests. They do have a conclusion. I'll just say that. One is a childhood friend, and one is a friend that he made in middle school who he saved from her committing suicide. I don't think he knew that. He was just being himself, I guess, and let her be a rebel with him by breaking stuff in the ceiling, in the roof of the school. But she was there because she was going to commit suicide. So she sees him as kind of the savior of her life. So both of them are very attached to him, and there's that little love triangle that does happen in the movie itself. The other games include a giant cat that is basically chasing anyone who has a mouse suit and eats them, and the whole goal of it is to put a basketball through its hoop. And then the third game is where they blindfold you, and then these dolls are dancing around you, and you have to guess who's behind you. If you don't, then you die. And then there's kind of an in-between game where they have to meet other people with keys. It's not really a game, but they're being chased by a demon-looking doll. And as long as you're holding hands with someone, then it won't attack you. And then once they open the gate from the keys, there is another game which it's a polar bear. He doesn't like people lying, so on and so forth. And then the game after that, they play the kick the can, essentially is capture the flag in the American version game, and that one is intense. And then I'll just stop there. That's kind of most of the stuff that they do. The ending is, in my opinion, very unconclusive, to be honest. It's not a lot of stuff is explained. Like, in the outside world, a lot of people are like running to this object where these kids are basically murdering each other, and they're almost in a way worshiping it, and we don't know why. There's also a guy who I found out through online, not through the movie, who is kind of a god figure. He's the one that invented the games, and he shows up ever so often in the movie, and he's just like a shut-in, and he somehow knows what's going on inside the games. And then he leaves his house and says, I'm gonna save the world, and that's that. I mean, and I'm not even sure that's the guy that they mentioned online, but it just seems like that's what he is, because we don't know who he is, we don't know what he does. He's just there. So I will say, this movie almost seems like if you read the manga, you would enjoy it more, whereas if you didn't read the manga, you would be lost in some of these parts. Personally, I don't like when they do that, because a lot of people watch movies to know what to read. Like, for example, I myself wasn't like that. I would read Harry Potter books and then watch the movies, but I have a lot of my friends who watched the movies of Harry Potter, and they really loved the movies, that they went back and read the books. So there's people that do that, and the fact that it almost is a turnoff it kind of pushes people away from the original content, which is the manga. So it is what it is. It's a great psychological thriller survival series. I would say the manga probably is better, for sure. But the live action, I mean, it wasn't too bad. I went into it knowing that it was going to be cheesy, and when you're watching it, you kind of feel like you're watching an anime, because and it doesn't translate so well with like human actors doing it, but it is what it is. Yeah, go check it out. It is on Crunchyroll, both dubbed and subbed. If you want to watch dubbed, go for it. I just thought it was cheesier and dubbed, but oh well. Thank you guys so much for watching this. If you haven't done so by now, subscribe to my channel. Let me know what other live action movies I should be reacting to, or maybe shows I should be reacting to, or giving my reviews to. Thank you again, and guys, like always, don't be strangers. See you guys.